how am I going to manifest my dream house? And this is ownership of my dream house, my dream house in 30 days. And I haven't recorded the run up to this, but essentially the run up has been how to work out how do I get to my dream house. So I have been renting. I I have a family. I have a partner. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter and one on the way. So there's a lot of busyness and um, stress, actually. And again, very severe physical disabilities that are not quite obvious unless you're kind of like with me on a day-to-day basis. Um, so that I would say, really personally struggled, which is difficult for me to communicate because I personally have a different experience of day to day struggle and how I feel about things and flow. So I can be having a really horrendous experience on paper in terms of the narrative and story, but there's always omnipresent, ever present with me, a feeling of whether this is flow or not. Because I live and genuinely live in a non-dual experience, which is that positive and negative are fully experienced by me as experiences. But there is another aspect to my beingness that is just responding to whether this is the path of least resistance or not. So sometimes we might feel like we're stuck in traffic and our GPS system is telling us to sit in traffic for 15 minutes, and we might feel frustrated and like this isn't going the way we want to go, but that is 100% the quickest way to get to where you want to go. And when you have that GPS system, here, then you can still get really frustrated and be like, but you have the GPS. There's nothing you can do with the GPS. So the GPS is like, this is the right way to go. Everything's fine. Like, this is how you get to the destination. But the experience is, I do not like this. I don't want to be here. This is not how I would envisage it. This is not what I want to manifest, all this kind of stuff. So there can be a lot of negative thinking and a commitment to what is happening in flow, which is very difficult for people to grasp, but is honestly, I would say, step one of manifestation. Developing the ability to, some people call this like the matrix, or within the kind of Neville Goddard teachings. So this is in the other video that I'm just about to make, which is about all the kind of teachings and things that I'm aware of, or things that I've studied, things that I've channeled. I don't really believe anything unless I also get yeses from my GPS as to whether this feels true or not and relevant for me, and then maybe for you if you're watching. But I completely lost my train of thought. I can tell you the story of how horrendous everything has been on paper and still be in a flow point. And so I have been in really horrendous, difficult circumstances over the past 5 years since I decided that I wanted to have a family and have children and not just be in the flow, but very lonely. And I also believe that this is the time now for connection. Everything that's happening in the world is like, honestly, about how we're making material love, truth, beauty, freedom, joy, right? So this is what we all want collectively and individually. So this is about, okay, how do we meet those things? And what are the physical manifestations that support that? So I was in a very clarifying state. So you can be in appreciation of the clarity for the last 4 years. I became extremely unwell after I had my first daughter, bedbound, unable to move or speak, using my little finger as a yes/no mechanism. No one understanding what was wrong with me, no one understanding the physiology. having to go on these deep dives with everything that exists, knowledge and intuition around how to kind of work with that. But also, what I would say is acceptance is the only healing. And so, if we need to go into these negative experiences, we need to go into these negative experiences. But if I tell you, like on paper, I'm currently in a huge amount of debt, cannot afford to pay my rent where I'm living, have 2 children, was financially supporting the family, and I'm just in, honestly, like I said, I was in hospital 3 weeks ago, unable to function, having these kind of ataxia events and seizures, faints, whatever you want to call it, really severe neurological symptoms and physical symptoms that nobody could really fathom or understand. That I worked out. I had to find case studies on of similar people to kind of like work out. I understand the physiology, but medicine doesn't understand the physiology, so they won't kind of like give me what I need and help me. And dealing with a lot of stress, moved into a new place, had leaks, had mold, ended up in hospital because of mold. Just it seems like stress after stress after stress after stress. And so after kind of doing a lot of work and like hosting online retreats and doing this kind of mentoring, which I did in my kind of previous incarnation, which honestly just completely got destroyed as well at the same time. Like I wrote a book. I haven't been able to get that out to the people that have actually bought it. I owe people that book. I'm in this most horrendous position for myself psychologically that I just absolutely despise. But the cure to all of my problems essentially is in complete material abundance. And so this is my focus now. Material abundance has never really been my focus. It is time right now for me to do it. Manifestation has never really been my focus. What's really more been my focus is presence, awareness, and being very present and aware and able to respond to what is happening in the flow point. There hasn't been much of a focus on an outcome or a kind of manifesting. This shift has happened recently, and this is very powerfully kind of like moving through me to share. So, horrible place, lots and lots of issues with the last place that we rented in London, and the area we live in is very expensive. Managed to kind of miracle move, manifested the place that I live in by going to sleep with my young daughter in the new place, in the new bedroom, every time I went to bed with her, being in the bedroom. And I'm now sitting in that bedroom that I manifested just by not trying to get out of where I was, but every time I went to bed, not even necessarily before I went to sleep, but I lay down with my daughter for her to go to sleep. I lay in the bed in our new place. I had no idea what that was going to be, but I did kind of like get the feedback and know that it had an upstairs and a downstairs. And I was living in a lateral flat, we call a flat in London. And I knew that where we were going to move to, it was on level. So we ended up moving to a split level place. Perfect in terms of the internal layout for our family, and to have another baby in just down the road from where I was, not far away. But basically, as soon as we moved in, all of the issues that we had at the last place just completely moved into the new place that we were in. They just came with us. We manifested the issues. At no point do I kind of go, sometimes I do lose my focus, so to speak, and just go, why me? Why is this happening? I move into that kind of victim mentality, which is, again, go with that flow. If I feel like I want to go into this, why is this happening to me? Us, what, why is all this challenge kind of like coming, why am I manifesting this and questioning these kind of negative manifestations? Whenever that happens, I go with it. But at the same time, there's this awareness, maybe we're not supposed to be here. But now, subsequently understanding after being here for 2.5 months and having crazy stuff happen, really negative on paper stuff happen, illness, like I said, I was hospitalized, incredible amounts of stress, and also really strange events happening. Like what happened, there was a leak, but it never happened before. It didn't even make sense to the landlord and the, why any of the stuff was happening. We got into, a lot of issues, but essentially what's manifested is we need to get out of here. Financially, it's been helpful for us because we've had to get compensation because of what happened, and we're in a really kind of like powerful position. But what's really interesting is after about 6 weeks, I was like, we don't need to be here. And this might sound like overly detailed, but I really feel like it's important to share how all the detail of where this comes from and how this actually works. This is how I got to my dream house. Because basically for 4 years, I was in a place that I really didn't want to be in, but I didn't know how to get out because I was focused on my health. I manifested better health. I manifested so I could kind of like get out of there, not necessarily focusing on things, but just being where I wanted to be, feeling how I wanted to feel, to kind of like move out, surrendering the timing to something else. That's what I would say. But I'm aware that I'm kind of like doing these sideways moves. It's getting better, but it's kind of like sideways. I can feel that there's something. I'm like, right, okay. Whenever all these kind of like no's or strange kind of things happen, I'm aware that I want to, there's something else, somewhere else for us to be. And again, some financial abundance or flow and a manifested life and existence that is physical and touchable and feelable and shareable that we are not quite accessing. And so I kind of like shared with my friend. I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be living. First there was the void. So I would say step one of manifestation is the void. The void is openness. The void is what is mine. Not if you don't try to manifest from the void, you're going to be manifesting things that are not necessarily coming from authenticity and power, because the power is always in the now. So if you're gonna bring things from the past through, and this is really challenging because all we know is what we know, but we don't need to attach to that in order to create from the moment. We have to kind of not know in order to invite new things into our life. So the void is step one of manifestation. So I got into the void. It's like, I don't know. I don't know where my house is. I don't know what it is. For the past 4 years, I was very aware that I was looking for my house, our house, the property. I use boards, digital boards, to create and curate images of things and really material things that I want, that I see in my space, that I would like to create in my space. I've been doing that for the past 5 years. And looking for properties, looking online, looking for properties with no limitations, no budget, no limitations, none of that, because that's not how we create, So it is about looking and acting from what is and what is there, but it's also about the void, just being completely open to whatever is yours. So it's asking, okay, what is mine? So my question was like, where is my house? And the shift in me being a mother and being a not wife, as I call it, but almost wife, is that I'm always taking other people into consideration. And honestly, the biggest mistake I made over the last 5 years is not putting myself first, not actually being the I am. How does that manifest? What is the ultimate manifestation of me as a separate being in the world? So that then everybody around me can be served by that ultimate manifestation. I really wasn't focusing on that. So it was quite challenging for me to go, right, where's my house? Right. But I was open. I messaged my friend. I was like, I don't know where my house is. I don't know what it is, this kind of stuff. And then 2 days later, my not husband, he sent me a link to a house that was for sale. And you wouldn't believe this, directly 2 blocks directly behind the property that we had been in for 4 years or 5 years that I had come to despise, but the property that my 2 daughters were born in, um, that I just had like deep hatred for, which we could kind of, maybe understand is what kept it in this kind of manifestation cycle for me. Though at the same time, I would still accept that everything happens in its own timing. Um, it was directly, it had that literally our bedroom was direct line of sight from the balconies on the back of this property. This property is also perfect for me because I'm an artist. My disabilities meant that I couldn't dance anymore. I used to do intuitive dance as a way of really dealing with my health problems, which I wasn't quite aware because it's a circulatory issue. And I wasn't able to do that anymore. So it kind of, that dynamic movement came into artwork that I do. This space has basically a shop attached to it. It has 5 bedrooms. It has everything that we need as a family, everything that I need as a person, as an artist, as a as a human, but as a mother, every single piece of those parts. So what just came to me is, if I'm focusing on myself, I'm not going to be happy if the people that I love aren't happy. That's just a prerequisite. So I don't actually have to worry about the other people, because as long as I find what's in alignment for me, true alignment for me, everybody that I love will be involved and encompassed in that. And that's why, if you're really finding what is truly yours, you can be selfish. You can be, what do I want? And just focused on the I, because really that's the only way you can manifest, is in a singular kind of focused point. But you can only be that way if you are interconnected with all that is, which is the great self, that is the God self, the self that is the front of the V, of the drop in the ocean, and the ocean in the drop. When you create and manifest from that space, you cannot damage or create anything that is going to have a negative impact truly on anybody else. So what I realized is, so by being in that space, the version of myself that lives in that space is the best version of myself that serves everybody that I am designed to serve, not necessarily the people that I want to serve. If I worked for someone that I shouldn't be working for, so to speak, in that highest incarnation of self, I wouldn't be able to work with them anymore. So the life that I live in that property is the life that is in most alignment with who I really am. And whether that resonates with you is dependent upon how in alignment you are with yourself, which is the first piece of the puzzle, like I'm saying. So you can kind of like be present, be yourself, be in the void, and then that void will attract the things that are for you. How it manifested in real time, just got sent a link. Here's a house. It's on the road that I've wanted to live on. I don't necessarily really like that road or want to live in it, but the road is my surname road, right? And it's number 8, Infinity, on the way to view it, because I went to go and view it. First property I've gone to view, it's for sale. It's very expensive. It is completely out of our price range if you want to think of it like that, though I don't have the beauty of it is that I'm unlimited in that regard, right? We are just purely manifesting this thing. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. Resources, none of that is relevant when it comes to this. The only thing that is relevant when it comes to this is this mine? And if it is mine, it is also my partner's and my kids' home, because it can't be mine if it isn't theirs, right? So all that matters is like, how do we do it? So I go and view the property. It's great. It works. And then yesterday I went to view it again. And over this time as well, we had a lot of stress to do with how do we get out of where we're living. We had to break the contract. We weren't able to negotiate with the management company that was managing it. The landlord lives abroad. We had to go and speak to him. But it just worked out so perfectly because this managing agent was not serving the landlord very well. What's so interesting in when we are get in alignment with what really wants to be for ourselves, everybody gets served. It is not always a positive experience. And this is, I think, the attachment that people have that stops them from manifesting things. It's not always a positive experience. You have to find the flow point no matter where that is. You have to find the path of least resistance. Sometimes that's going to feel like rocks in hard places. And when I went to view this property yesterday, there is a part of me, and why I'm making this, and I've been working with people for years. I use tarot to basically find the flow point, find where we are, know where we are, and then, find who we are and where we are, be present in ourselves. That's it. Get messages on where we should direct our focus, right? I've always said to everybody, I'm the worst student, and I am. I'm the absolute worst student. I've been a really powerful channel since 2010, so 15 years. I mean, my whole life, very interconnected, very psychic, all of this kind of stuff, probably related to these circulatory issues, which means that my brain is not always having enough oxygen. So it's like I'm constantly having some sort of near-death experience, which is why I'm the way I am. I'm very interconnected all the time, but I'm the worst. I would get direct instructions from automatic writing. The way I would communicate to myself most is through automatic writing, or I can record videos of myself giving, like I almost have to give the tarot reading to somebody else, but it's for me. I can disconnect from it and I can just flow the information. Because I'm not a trance channel. I'm completely present as I'm working. But basically, I'm the worst person to follow my own, not my own intuition. I can follow presence and flow. That's how I live. But I'm really bad at instruction, right? When you get instructions, which I mean are invaluable, and honestly is like my gift to humanity, is like, here are your instructions, just go. I'm the worst at receiving that gift. So when this property was like the perfect thing for me, my response is kind of like, it didn't feel like my choice. Here's the piece of manifestation that I think is really challenging for people to understand. It is not necessarily your choice. You can have anything you want, but it has to be yours. And it will be better and work out better than you would have created, so to speak, or manifested if there wasn't the restriction that you can only really have what is yours, which isn't necessarily across the board, but it's probably true for you if you're watching this. There's an aspect of me personally that's like, why can't I choose? Because this place didn't seem perfect for me, but then I've got to heal my trauma, which is mostly built upon my childhood stuff, which never really goes away, especially when you have children. It gets kind of like re-triggered. That, a lot of the issues that I had at the old place that we can see directly out of the window of the place that I'm going to buy, or that is mine, that I have to deal with those issues. Otherwise, I'm going to get triggered every time I see it. So it's like this perfect kind of combination of what I want, but also what I don't want, or the shadow or the aspect that wants to be revealed to give me more freedom. Because anything we're afraid of and that we don't want to see is limiting our ability to create, because we're restricting our palette, if that makes sense. So I found the house. It's very expensive. When I say that, it doesn't even resonate. I mean, I want to give you information on it. It doesn't even really matter. What I'm saying is it's out of my current circumstances. If I went to a bank, would not support the ownership of this place. But it is. So even now, this is interesting. It's like, can I say it is mine? Can I believe that it is mine? Can I align with the reality whereby it is mine? It's challenging when I'm telling you I'm focusing on the reality that I wouldn't get a loan from the bank for this house, right? Right. So it's really interesting. I want to work through this with you, work through my own blocks and barriers on how I'm going to manifest this place here with you. So this has been a pretty long video. This is the first video. This is like day 1 of 30 of how I'm manifesting this house. First step, found the void. Second step, found the house. Third step, manifesting the house. So this is what it's beginning now, manifesting this house in 30 days. All right. Lots of love. See you in the next one.